A very famous person said that we're drowning in information but starving for wisdom. Well, if you're someone who's trying to look for the best way to go about your nutrition and want to boost your immune system, well, my friend, you've come to the right place. But before I start, what I want to tell you is nutrition is nothing that is extraordinary. You don't need to follow a very strict rule. The only rule that I want you to follow is to understand how nature has designed us to work. For this, try and consume as much as possible the foods that already exist in its natural form and do not come in labels or packets. Try and avoid as much as possible processed foods, processed meats, as well as hydrogenated vegetable oils. I don't want you to get bogged down with counting calories or trying to balance your macros. So just follow this chart to make things as simple as possible and to correct the imbalance that is being created in the body. And that is how we figure out what's best for us. Now let us understand how nature had intended organisms to evolve. Every organism spends 24 hours a day and it has to live by these four functions that it has to do. That is to reproduce, gather energy as food to survive, repair itself and grow, as well as protect itself from the internal environment of germs, as well as protect itself from the external environment like predators. All these functions are guided by the circadian clock, which optimizes the ability of every organism to do these functions to the most optimum time of day or night. Studies have shown that circadian rhythms are influenced by light, but the timing that they follow are controlled internally by our genes. Every gene in our genome has a circadian cycle. However, they don't cycle at the same times or they cycle only in one organ. A 2002 study found that up to 20% of these genes either turned off or on at different times of the day. Now, what was interesting about the study was that the 20% genes that turned off in a particular organ like the brain were not the same 20% genes that turned off in another organ like our liver, our heart, or our muscles. What I'm trying to make you understand by sharing all this information is that leading a healthy, disease free lifestyle is not that difficult if we keep nature's design in mind. Every cell in every organ has a mechanism that opens the door when it's hungry to let the nutrients flow in during the day, and when it has enough energy it closes this door so that it doesn't get overstuffed. The energy metabolism pathway is circadian, affecting functioning and metabolism of all key nutrients. The use and storage of carbohydrates, fats, or proteins is not a continuous process. The repair and restoration of our cells do not happen randomly. Everything has a specific time, and that is at night. If you recall, sometime back I had just said how everything has a rhythm and this is influenced by light. So basically what I'm trying to get at is light goes and stimulates this special area in our brain known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and this area of the brain connects indirectly to our pituitary gland as well as our pineal gland. Now the pineal gland produces the sleep inducing hormone known as melatonin. The suprachiasmatic nucleus is the link between light and timing because it receives information about light from the outside world and it shares it with the rest of the body. There are three key rhythms that govern everything else. One is sleep and when we wake up. The other is what time of the day we eat, and especially the most important is the last meal that we have for the day, and physical activity. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to mostly discuss about what time of the day we finish our meal. Just like the first light in the day resets our brain clock, our first bite of the day resets our organ clock. In fact, food timing can be a powerful cue to override the brain clock. Our gut motility or movement of food in our intestine increases during the day, and it becomes very slow during the night. What we eat, when we eat, matters when it comes to the optimal function of our immune system. Disease, infections, and allergic reactions often occur when the immune system is too weak or too aggressive. When the immune system is ineffective, it can cause a cascade of reactions in the body that will ultimately cause chronic inflammation. Over time, chronic inflammation can damage the DNA of our cells, which will ultimately lead to the development of cancer. Now, most of you don't understand that even the wrong kind of foods can cause chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is also caused by highly processed foods, especially oils, because oils contain a lot of omega 6 as compared to omega 3. And when this ratio is disturbed, there is chronic inflammation in the system. And from the previous point, we can understand that chronic inflammation again prematurely ages our DNA, which can ultimately lead to cancer. There'll be more videos coming after this session where I had previously created a full in detail video on the use of omega 3 to reduce inflammation. Now I'm coming back to our functioning of the immune system. We have to understand that disrupting our circadian rhythm ultimately disrupts the functioning of our immune system, and this makes us more susceptible to disease and ill health. Just like our major organs, our immune system has a circadian component into it, and if we can resync it, we can regulate its response. What time of the day we put food in our mouth influences or has more influence over our genes and how they are expressed. The clock gene plays an important role in deciding what kind or type of immune cell our body should produce. When our clock system breaks down, there is a cellular imbalance in our immune system, and it basically causes one sort of immune cell to be overproduced at the cost of another. Overconsumption of processed food like hydrogenated oils also creates oxidative stress, and oxidative stress is one of the most common threats inside the cell. Oxidative stress ultimately contributes to cellular DNA aging fast. The central role of the circadian rhythm is to control this oxidative stress. The clock acts as a sensor of oxidative stress and coordinates the use of antioxidant defense mechanisms to clear these cells of oxidative stress. Since eating used to happen predictably during the daytime for millions of years, this function of the clock is very fundamental to the health of our cells. This is the reason why breakfast is considered one of the most important meals of the day. It affects the functioning of our entire nervous system. This also brings me to the topic of intermittent fasting. I have seen a lot of people practicing intermittent fasting by having dinner late and then following a fast throughout the day and then end it by having a late lunch. This is not the right way to practice intermittent fasting. You have understood how the clock functions and how everything is coupled around it. So if someone wants to practice intermittent fasting, it's best to have an early dinner and then do a intermittent fast. Now I'll be coming to how fasting helps improve cellular health and immune function. Our cells are constantly recycling dysfunctional parts and stray bits through the process of autophagy. Autophagy is the process which is most active after several hours of our last meal. Time restricted eating or intermittent fasting is well known to increase this process of autophagy. Our immune system has distinct tasks: surveillance, attack, repair, and cleanup that work on a schedule but on different times of the day. We also know that our body is in recovery when we sleep. So it makes more sense to combine both. A large portion of our immune system exists actually in our gut, which is appropriate because the greatest amount of potential invaders that come into our body come in with our food. This is why it gets very important for us to eat during the day mostly, because then our immune system is more active in surveillance and attack, and leave the immune system for cellular repair during our sleep. So, all that I've explained till now is basically a foundation that everybody needs to create first. I can understand that this is a lot of information to absorb, so I am not going to overwhelm you with more information in this video. Let all this settle in. I will be doing more follow-up videos on different topics like supplementation, exercise, and what are the best times for different kind of exercise. And before I go, I would like to remind you that to lead a healthy life, the approach has to be holistic, and above all, we have to work with nature. Thank you so much for watching.